What's up, Ice Nation? Are you having problems defeating Sierra? Well, don't worry, I will go over all the Pokemon that she uses. I will give you some tips on how to defeat her, and then we will do a battle together. Now, the Pokemon that I'm going to be going over, they're not going to be the best for each type. I mean, some of them will be, but they're meant to give you an idea of some of the counters that you can use. And so if you don't have any of the Pokemon that I recommend, you can just take and type to the search bar the type that you're looking for, and then it will bring up all the Pokemon that you have of that type. And then for the battles, I recommend taking note of all the Pokemon that they use, so that way if you do have to back out or for some reason you don't get it on the first chance, you can go back in with the correct counters. You just remember the second or even the third Pokemon that they have, and then you can adjust your team accordingly. Sierra is going to use 3 Pokemon. Her first Pokemon will be a Sableye. For her second Pokemon, it has the chance of being one of 3. It has a chance of being Flygon, a Honchkrow, or a Cacturne. For her third Pokemon that she uses, it will be a Houndoom, a Cradily, or a Snorlax. For Sableye, it is a dark and a ghost type, so that means it's only weak to fairy. And so for fairy types, you could use a Togekiss, a Sylveon, a Primarina, you could use a Granbull, or you could use a Gardevoir. For a second Pokemon she uses, it could be either a Flygon, and that is a dragon and a ground type. So that means it's weak to fairy, dragon, and ice. So for the fairy types, you can use anything that you used from Sableye. For ice types, I would recommend a Glaceon, a Mamoswine, an Avalugg, or you could use a Articuno. Another option she could have would be a Cacturne, and that is a dark and a grass type, and so then that means it's double weak to bug, and I would recommend using a bug type because you're going to want every advantage you can get. And so for the bug types, I would recommend a Pinsir or a Scizor. It's also weak to fighting, so some fighting Pokemon you could use will be a Lucario, a Conkeldurr, a Machamp. You could even use a Terrakion that knows fighting type moves. Another Pokemon she can use for her second slot will be a Honchkrow, and that is a dark and a flying type. So that means it's weak to fairy, rock, electric, and ice. So for your fairy and your ice types, you can use what you previously used. For your rock, I would recommend a Tyranitar or a Terrakion that knows rock-type moves, or you can use a Rhyperior or a Rampardos, or even a Gigalith. For her third Pokemon, it could be one of 3. It could be either a Cradily, which is a rock and a grass type, and so that means it's weak to bug, fighting, steel, and ice. For the bug, you can use what you previously used for the bug type, as well as the ice type. And then for your fighting, you can use the same counters as you did previously, so that would be like your Lucario, your Machamp, your Conkeldurr. You could even use a Virizion that knows fighting type moves. Another option for her third Pokemon that she could use will be a Snorlax, and he is a normal type, and so that means he's only weak to fighting. Now Snorlax is pretty tanky. It's one of the harder Pokemon to defeat, so you're going to want a strong fighting type Pokemon. And then the third option she has that she can use is a Houndoom, and that is a fire and a dark type. So that means it's weak to fighting, ground, rock, and water. So all the fighting and rock types that you used previously, you can use for that one, or you can use a water, which will be a Kyogre, a Swampert, a Blastoise. You could even use a Vaporeon. I would recommend a strong rock or a fighting type, since your Houndoom can hit pretty hard. Now going into the battle, I would recommend using a fairy, a fighting, and a bug type. Now the fairy, it's going to cover the Sableye, which is her first Pokemon, and it's also going to cover 2 of the options that she has for her second Pokemon. For fighting, that's going to cover all 3 of the options that she has that she could use as her third Pokemon. And then lastly, the bug type. One option of her second Pokemon is double weak to bug, so by chance that you do get that, you're covered with a bug type. And then if you don't have a solid bug type, you can always swap in a different counter or just something that you want to try out. So we have a Sierra here, and you would use a fairy, bug, and a fighting type, but I made the unfortunate mistake of using my Scizor in a gym, and so I don't have him. So I'm just going to go with 2 fighting types instead, just to try it out and see how it goes. So for my 2 fighting types, I'm going to use a Conqueror and a Lucario, and then my fairy type, I'm going to use a Togekiss. And then the Togekiss is in the second slot, and then the reason for that is because anytime you switch into a Pokemon or use Shield, it will stall out the leaders and they cannot attack. While you can attack, they can't. And so this is going to give us a big advantage when we go and we are trying to defeat them. So let's start the battle here. Zero. Okay. We're going to do a couple hits and switch into our Pokemon. And see how we're attacking and he's not attacking us? This is why you put the Pokemon in the second slot, so you can get that advantage. Yeah, it greatly helps. Oh, we got Flygon, so this is good for us. Flygon's weak against Fairy, so we'll keep on using this. Now, I'm not going to charge and attack this because he's going to shield this, and there's really no point in doing it because he's going to shield it. We will shield this, though. And use dead. What do you have? Oh, Houndoom. Okay, so we lucked out because we got a dark and a ghost type. And so you want fighting for him. And then we're just going to wreck him here. Again, he's going to shield this, so we're not going to do that. There we go. Sierra, you going down. Some Stardust. Hyper Potion. Max Revive. And are you shiny? Nope, not shiny. Darn. Shiny Shadow Sableye is really cool looking. I really like that gold and the purple. It just makes this Pokemon pop. And we got it. And that's how you beat Sierra. If you found any of these tips helpful, hit the like button to let me know, and we will see you in the next one. Stay frosty.